This one's wife. Delayed or dumped? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I've explained previously why this one's wife's forthcoming cookery show is going to be a great big steaming lump of shite. Not only was the trailer indicative of the nonsense that she's going to generate, but I also explained, as a consequence of input from my PR expert, how Netflix hates it. You'll also be aware from the immediate preceding video and other media outlets that the series has now been pushed back. This has been done under the auspices of showing some compassion as a consequence of the LA fires. But as I've explained in my video, LA saved with love, Meghan delayed, that is absolute asinine nonsense, and it's entirely self-serving. But what it does do is raise the question of what's going to happen to this series. The first option is it is simply delayed, that this one's wife attempts once again to assert control and draw fuel by managing that facade of supposed compassion by suggesting we've put it back in order to allow the fires to pass because I care, and it indeed screens on March the 4th. The second option is that Netflix, having seen that the reaction to it has been near universal criticism and ridicule, along with the fact that they don't particularly want to continue to work with her, decide, let's just bury it. We'll agree to it being put back as a consequence of the reason of the fires. It goes back by nearly 2 months, and then we'll conveniently forget about it, hoping that nobody will notice. Of course, that hope won't be something that will manifest for them because people will notice, because as a consequence of her behaviour, there's a legion of individuals out there keeping a beady eye on the activities of this one's wife, and should it not be screened and be quietly dropped, then plenty of people will notice. But it may well be the case that Netflix decide it's not going to do anything, it's just going to result in more criticism, we're better off without it. Now, on the one hand, they may not care, because quite simply, it's been filmed, it's in the can, it's been publicised, so we may as well just let it get out there and devil take the hindmost. It'll be criticised, well, we'll still get views for it, so what does it matter? Therefore, I think that there's still a reasonable chance that it actually still will be screened. Whilst it's tempting to think that it might just disappear without a trace, and they decide we're not going to screen it, given the fact that all of the work has been done and there has been some minimal publicity for it, I still think that it's likely that they'll go ahead and screen it. The third possibility is modifications. Now, as you know, this one's wife has not pushed this back because she actually cares about the people that have been affected by the fires. She's just using that as a convenient excuse as a consequence of the fact that the trailer and the potential of the forthcoming series have been repeatedly and deeply criticised. This naturally threatens her need for control. Whilst she will be dismissive of those that have criticised her, she will still be aware that it has happened. And therefore, one way that her narcissism will seek to deal with this, it demonstrates the strange paradox that you'll get with a narcissist, whereby on the one hand, her narcissism will dismiss all of the legitimate criticisms that have been made of her program, but will then seek to act upon those criticisms in order to nullify them. However, she won't acknowledge that this is a response as a consequence of the criticisms. Her narcissism, and this is how it gets so convoluted, will convince her that these have been her own ideas, that this was what was necessary for X, Y, Z reasons. Accordingly, with people criticising her for cosplaying the Marchioness of Bath, for people criticising her for adopting this trad wife approach, whereas she claims that she's a person of colour with 43% Nigerian heritage, that those criticisms, along with the fact that it's tone deaf, given that people are experiencing cost of living crisis, that many people are not particularly interested in a cookery show because there's been plenty of other ones, and certainly one with a disliked individual prancing around in dresses, saying, oh, look at me creating things, piggybacking off the hard work of others, that her narcissism may well cause her to think, can we make some modifications? Let's film some extra segments of me doing some ethnic recipes. Let's just tweak one or two things, perhaps, to try and head off some of the criticisms that are being made. Understand this. This one's wife doesn't sit there and think to herself, yeah, here are 10 things that have been said about it, and actually they're all legitimate observations about it. We can learn from this. No. Because she always knows best, her narcissism tells her that whoever suggested these things are idiots, that they're haters, that they're racists. However, in one breath, her narcissism causes her to dismiss the ideas, and then in the next moment, because of compartmentalization, it causes her to then respond to them, not recognizing that they're right, but making her think, you know what, I've been thinking about it, guys, and I think there's some ways we can make some improvements to the show, make it even better than it actually is. Why don't we have a couple of segments where I do some Nigerian cooking? Do we know any Nigerian chefs that we can get involved? I'm thinking as well that it might be worthwhile doing a segment where we concentrate on getting the best value out of ingredients. After all, there is a cost of living crisis. So why don't we do something along those lines? Remember, she's not recognising that she's been legitimately criticised, but her narcissism will still take advantage of what people have said, the many thousands of comments criticising it, and make it seem like it's her idea. Because she knows best, which means she rejects the criticism on the left hand and then with the right hand uses them, believing them to be her ideas. It seems extraordinary, but that is the way that her narcissist mind will work. It is able to compartmentalize in that fashion. One wonders if there's sufficient time available for that to happen, but it might be that some editing and some tweaking and a bit of refilming might take place, and therefore she uses that time delay as a means of trying to improve the programme to obviate some of the criticisms that have been launched towards it. What do you think? Do you think that it's going to be a simple case of delay and it will go ahead March the 4th? Do you think there's going to be modifications for the reasons that I've explained? Or do you think that actually it's going to be dumped and it'll disappear without a trace? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.